Is diabetes hereditary?
So diabetes run in families. There are there's to keep it simple for people. There's two types of diabetes. For us medical doctors, there are subtypes of diabetes which I'm not going to go into. But to keep it simple, there's two types of diabetes. Type one um, tends to happen in younger populations, mostly children. Usually gets diagnosed very early. For some, you may get diagnosed in the teenage years. Um, type two is still more in adults, even though nowadays in the Western world where there's a lot of unhealthy eating and unhealthy lifestyle, the age of type 2 diabetes started to come down to people in their 20s. But before, it used to be mostly people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, people who are much older. Type 2 diabetes gets to mostly comes from people having bad health in general. So high cholesterol, hypertension, things like that. People tend to think of it as a type of diabetes that happens because of your lifestyle, right? But type 1 is genetic. That's not something that you can cause, because a kid who is 5, 10 years old, like, what are they done to be able to become unhealthy? Are they smoking? Are they eating and those things, right? They're not drinking. So that's more of what we call congenital diabetes. In terms of the mechanism of how it works, type 1 tends to be more the body, what we call autoimmune disease. Your body is attacking the cells that are in what we call the pancreas. The pancreas is the organ. It's on the left side of your belly. This will be below your belly. It's supposed to release insulin. When you have high sugar in your blood, there's messages that are sent to the pancreas to release insulin. What insulin does is it helps the body absorb some of that sugar so that it gets used in different tissues of the body, right? Because guess what? Like I explained before, the syrup, right? Think of it, the blood being very thick with syrup. It has all this sugar. The sugar is there in the blood to stay temporarily, right? The sugar is not supposed to stay there for a long time, because if it stays there for a long time, it starts to damage the vessels. So when you have insulin released, the body has high sugar in the blood. There's a message sent to the pancreas. Insulin is released. The sugar in the blood dissipates away, enters into different organs. The blood becomes thinner and is able to freely flow, right? If someone doesn't have insulin, the blood gets very thick with sugar, and that worsens the blood vessels, and they get thicker and thicker and thicker. So people that have type 1 diabetes, the cells that are supposed to produce the insulin get destroyed. And so for those folks, very early on, you put them on insulin. For type 2 diabetes, it's a little bit more nuanced. The issue is not necessarily that you're not making insulin. One of the major issues is what we call insulin resistance. Because I think about it this way. Yes, you may be able to produce the insulin and release it, but the cells that you are sending the message, remember, the insulin, it's more of think of it as insulin as a messenger. You release insulin from the pancreas, it goes to different cells in the body, and it knocks on the door and tells them, hey, there's a lot of sugar in your blood. This guy just ate. Can you open the door so we can supply you with all this fuel so you can, use them up and generate energy? But guess what? Sometimes when the messenger comes and knocks on the door doesn't get opened. Or if it gets open, or if the door is open, maybe the hinge is not well oiled. The door may not open very well. So guess what? Yes, you may have insulin. The insulin may talk to the cells of the body and tell them, take in more sugar. But if they're not able to take in a lot of sugar, we call that insulin resistance. It means that for the same amount of insulin that you release, if you eat one wrap of apple, you may need more insulin to be released to be able to tell your body to take in that amount of sugar, right? So guess what? For that pancreas to make even more insulin, because the cells of the body is resisting insulin messages, the pancreas gets stressed. And over time, what may end up happening is the pancreas craps out or gets tired. And so after a while, it may stop making less and less insulin. And over time, many, many, many years, we have what is called pancreas burnout. You're making that insulin, but you're even having to make more and more because the body is just not responding to that insulin, right? So that's more of a type 2. It's a little bit more nuanced. And that's where the lifestyle changes comes in.